Hi, Norm Norlander here, and today we're going to talk about tube flies. Tube flies are really kind of neat. Here's an example of a tube fly, well actually a couple of them. This is a large streamer pattern. We might be using this in salt water. It's rigged up with tandem hooks. Here's another example. This would be a steelhead fly that we might use here in the Northwest. This would be called an intruder. You can see the fly itself is really tied on a piece of plastic tubing right here. And the idea is that we can use a relatively small short shank hook like I have right here, and we run the leader through the tube, come out the front, tie it onto our line. So the idea of this short shank hook is that it'll stay pinned in the fish a whole lot better. If we tried to tie a big long fly like here, this might be 4 inches long or so, with a long shanked hook so that we have the hook at the back of the fly where it's most effective, it's really hard to keep those things pinned in a fish unless you have a giant barb on them, and we don't like to use those barbed hooks much anymore, not for our steelhead. Okay, this is the Norvise tube fly system. It'll come packaged to you, looks something like this. And it's going to consist of a new front hub, and you have some collets and a collet holder. Inside the package there's a bunch of mandrels. These are mandrels right here. They're different diameters. You're actually going to get 3 different sizes. You'll get 2 each of those. And you're going to get some collets, and these collets will match these mandrels so that they'll center that tube and, well, center the mandrel and the tube. Now here's how we attach this to the Norvise. We're going to simply remove the front hub of our vise. There's a set screw there. You can pop the front hub off like this, set it aside. Here's your tube fly system. It's got the collet holder and the hub together. That's a little garter spring right back here. That's going to be really handy to use as a material holder. Okay, these different collets, they screw into the front like this. Pretty easy to change. And what you'll do is you'll select a collet that will match the mandrel in the tube that you're going to use. Now the Norvise system is set up so that you have a variety of collets and mandrels. You can handle just about any tube arrangement you're going to run into. Let's start with something that's been fairly popular lately. This is a Pro Tube system, and it will usually include this tapered needle. The idea is that you can stick this tapered needle in here, and then the set screws right here will lock the needle in place, and then you take your fly and basically slip that, it'll wedge onto that tapered needle like so. Be able to turn everything pretty easy. It's really handy. What's really cool about this is, I'm going to pull this out of here for a minute. You see how this cone is tapered. Well, when you're using a lot of these soft feathers like this, you want to be stroking them back as you're laying them in place. Kind of a soft tackle approach. This thing works great for that. It also, of course, it'll rotate, it'll spin. You have this locking mechanism here. It'll stay wherever you put it. You have the 4 detents. You have the 4 lock positions. It works very, very well with a great variety of tubes. Okay. Now there's your Pro Tube system. It'll also work just fine using one of these mandrels. You find the mandrel to fit the plastic tube that you're using. Now you can purchase these things through your fly shop. There's several outfits that furnish them, such as these are HMH tubes. It'll also work with these little beauties. These are called bottle tubes. A pretty popular deal in Europe right now. So if you want to be very fashionable, you tie your tube flies on bottle tubes. Now you can also get a little bit more creative with a Norvise system. It lends itself very well to using bulk tubing like this. This is nylon tubing, and you'll find that one of these mandrels is going to fit the standard sizes, which is either 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 inch diameter stuff. It's pretty cheap, by the way. And you can also get really creative and use non-traditional things such as Q-tips. A little later on, we're going to tie a fly for you using a Q-tip. We'll tie another fly for you using some of the fly shop type straight nylon tubing. Really easy to do, and I think you're going to find it works pretty darn good. Okay, so that gives you a pretty good idea of how the Norvise system is going to work. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take and put a mandrel in there. Let's get one of these right here, a little larger one, like so. And these set screws right here will lock that mandrel in place. You do that, it's not going to slip on you. And then we can take a tube, use one of these Q-tips as an example, cut the fuzzy part off right here. You really don't need that. So anyhow, there's your plastic tube that you're actually going to tie on, and then you can take and just slip that right over the mandrel. See how that'll go on there like so? Now, one of the things a little later, and we're going to demonstrate this when we actually tie some flies, is that some of these tubes and some of these mandrels don't quite fit just right. So what we're going to do there is we're going to use some thread. I'll use this bright red thread so you can see what's happening, and we're going to put a couple layers of thread on like this. You want to do this towards the back of the mandrel, and you secure that with a half hitch like that. Okay, that's good enough. Now when you take this piece of tubing like we have here, you'll slide over that and it'll wedge on to where this thread is. That'll hold it firmly so that when you rotate it, you see it's perfectly centered. It's not going to spin on you. And again, we're going to show that when we actually tie a couple flies. So that's the basic concept of the Norvise tube fly system. I think you're going to find it works really great, and it's a whole lot of fun.